Well, I think the most important thing that's happened in the last 48 hours is that the Americans have met with and coordinated with all of the top European allies, the UK and in the EU, before the Putin call and after the Putin call. And that makes the U.S. a lot more credible when it comes out and says that there will be severe economic sanctions that Russia will have to pay if they do indeed re-invade Ukraine. It's also clear that the United States isn't prepared to defend Ukraine militarily, and that was never credible, either in 2014 or today. That's why they're not a member of NATO, despite the fact that Ukraine would like to join. But the big problem here, Will, and it is a serious problem, is that the Russians aren't planning to invade Ukraine. They're not going to make it that easy for the United States and its allies. I mean, if they're going to take further action against it in Ukraine, it's much more likely to involve informal, little green men that they can plausibly or implausibly deny, cyber attacks against Kiev, the Ukrainian administration, the kinds of things that make it much harder for the Americans and the Europeans to maintain a united front. But I would say that the last 48 hours, the markets should be a little bit more calm about the Russia-Ukraine situation than they were coming into that call, Frank.
So what likelihood do you put on Russia seizing some of Ukraine's territory? As you said, it's not going to be a full-blown invasion either way, but seizing some serious amounts of territory in the next 6 months?
Oh, very, very unlikely for many reasons. One, because additional territory being physically taken would probably trip that, sort of informal red line that's being set very clearly by the U.S. and its allies. Secondly, the territory that Russia presently informally occupies in Donetsk, Luhansk, those areas are the parts of Ukraine that have populations that are most inclined to support Moscow already, on top of course, Crimea, which was annexed. Any further territory they take is going to have a Ukrainian population that will resist. And that means it will be much more costly, both in terms of economics as well as lives for the Russians. And it won't be popular inside Russia. So, again, I really think the danger here is asymmetrical warfare. It's not about Russia taking more Ukrainian territory.
Gold prices did go up today a little bit, Ian. Never know exactly why, but I do wonder how much geopolitical hedges you would tell investors to take right now, given the situation bubbling up in Russia and Ukraine, potentially in China and Taiwan, and just some of the other hotspots that you've been watching and what's been playing out into next year.
So I think Sarah, if there is a geopolitical reason for oil prices to be coming up right now, it's neither of those things. It's Iran. And that's because we are not going to get a return to the Iranian nuclear deal, the JCPOA. And the Iranians right now are 4 weeks away from nuclear breakout capability because of the increased stockpiling and enrichment levels of their uranium. That's a problem. And, the U.S. unilaterally withdrew from the nuclear deal under Trump. Biden wants to get back in. We can't do it. And that means that there's greater likelihood of Israeli sabotage and even direct military confrontation. Clearly, that would have a significant impact on energy prices. But beyond that, I would suspect over the next couple of months, most of the political impulse is going to be on the negative side on energy prices. And of course, that has a lot more to do with Omicron variant, with continued travel restrictions, and with difficulties in supply chain that come from what will almost certainly be the new dominant variant, hopefully not as severe as Delta, but we don't have that information yet.